So welcome, guys. For today's practice, I invite you to find a bath towel, a beach towel, or even a blanket. We're going to be folding it up, rolling it up, and potentially using it as a prop for today's class. So if we're ready, we'll find whatever easy seat we need, and we're welcome to settle in however we'd like to settle in. We could close the eyes if closing the eyes feels good. And if we would like, we'll take a few moments to just find a little settling in if that feels good. And so what we might do first is just notice where our tension is in the body right now. So maybe we can notice the area around our shoulders. And maybe we can take a deep breath in. And on that exhale, we can let our shoulders relax away from the ears. And then likewise, maybe we can notice the area around our jaw. Can we take a deep breath in? And on the exhale, relax the jaw. Let the top and bottom teeth create a little space. Let the tongue get heavy in your mouth. And then I invite you to notice the area around our forehead. Can we take a deep breath in? And on that exhale, let those muscles release. Now, if it is possible, I invite you to continue to find those deep breaths. Now, if it works for us, we can take whatever deep breath we need, and then we can notice what can start to soften on the exhale. So again, we can take that deep breath in, and notice what can soften on the exhale. And as we're repeating this, mindful that this is not synonymous with forcing the body to be in any particular shape. We don't want to force the shoulders down. We don't want to force the bottom part of our jaw to create space from the top part of our jaw. We're just seeing what can soften without expectations, without predictions, without forcing anything. Now, if it's possible, we'll give this just a few more breaths. Now, maybe we can think about those inhales filling up the lungs a little more than before. The exhales are a little more drawn out. And as they're drawn out, can those muscles release just a little bit more, as if that tension is being washed out with the exhale. You might even notice the back of our neck. Taking that full breath in. The exhale, relaxing the back of the neck. And now, if we can, we'll give this 5 or 6 more deep breaths. And then if we can, when we are ready, we'll bring our hands together at our heart. And we'll pause for a moment. We'll set a positive intention, and what we might do today is we might remind ourselves that our intentions are not goals. Goals, there is a pass or fail. We either attain the goal or we don't. Intentions are about the present moment. What can we cultivate in the present moment? And then we can take in the inhale that we need. And the exhale could rest our hands against our legs. And always mindful the eyes could stay closed for as long or as little as we need. And we might start with our shoulder rolls. So we might shrug the shoulders up towards the ears and eventually relax them back down. And we might just repeat this movement as this feels good. So we can shrug the shoulders up, we can relax them back down. Now, if it is possible, today might be a day that we're doing these mini drops during our shrugs. So we can shrug all the way up and all the way down, but then we pause at the bottom and let the shoulders just completely drop. So we might repeat that where we take a full shrug, it comes down, but we just give the shoulders a moment to completely release. So again, we might be repeating that. Just a little pause at the bottom, let the shoulders completely relax. This little micro drop down. Now we are welcome to stay with this movement, especially if we feel like anything more might not be constructive for our neck. If we would like to come into our shoulder drops, we're going to relax our shoulders all the way down. We're going to bring our shoulders straight up to the ears. We'll pause for a few breaths. And then on the exhale of our choosing, we'll let those shoulders completely drop. And then we'll pause. We'll take that breath in. We'll take that breath out. We're going to do this a few more times. We're going to bring those shoulders straight up to the ears. We're going to pause. So the exhale of our choosing, it could even be a pretty audible sigh. We're going to let them drop. And we pause. We take that breath in. We take that breath out. I'm going to do that again. We'll bring the shoulders straight up to the ears. We're going to pause. And on the exhale of our choosing, we'll let them drop. And again, we pause again. We'll take that deep breath in. We'll take that deep breath out. Now, as always, if we need to readjust the legs, change the crossing in our legs, or even uncross the legs, we are welcome to. If we are ready, we'll do a few neck stretches. We'll get tall through our back, through the center of our head, and on an exhale, we'll let our right ear lightly come over towards the right side. And we'll pause here if that's possible, maybe noticing the opposite side of our neck right now. And can we notice how that feels to breathe in? And how that feels to breathe out? Now, if we can, we'll bring our chin down towards the chest. And we'll pause here for a moment. Now we're noticing the back of our neck. It might even feel good to lightly tuck our chin in, but don't do that if that doesn't feel good for the neck. And try our best to breathe in. And try our best to breathe out. And then when we're ready, we'll do it to the opposite side. We're bringing that left ear over towards the left side. But now we're focusing on the right side of our neck. Just notice how that feels right now. We'll try our best to breathe in. And breathe out. Now, if we're ready, we'll bring our chin down to the chest again. And we'll bring our right ear over to the right side, and we'll find our flow. So if we're ready, we'll bring our chin down to the chest. We'll bring that right ear over to the left ear to left side, chin to chest, and eventually right ear to right side. Now, I invite you to go at your own pace now, and this is going to look different on everybody. Some people might find those half C rolls feel really good, just rolling the head side to side. Others will find that it's a little more like our chin is tracing the collarbone from left to right. Others might find that they're doing more of a letter L. They're tracing the letter L, coming up to center, then to side, center, and down. Again, we want to make sure this movement works for us. As we're potentially rolling the neck, we are affecting different muscles in the neck, which means one angle might feel amazing for one muscle, but the second we move it, it makes another muscle twinge. That is one of the beauties, but also one of the complexities of our neck. Now we are welcome to add in breath if we have not added in breath yet. So maybe it feels good to exhale down and then inhale up, or inhale down and exhale up. Or we might find we're doing a full inhale for one side and a full exhale for the other side. I want you to make this time your own, and as always, if we find that our inner ear is starting to disagree with it, we might keep our eyes open and try to look at one spot on the floor. We can also just take a break. Now, if we are ready, I invite you to stop the next time you come over to your right side. So the next time you're on your right side, I invite you to pause there, and we have the option of holding this one. So I invite you to do any kind of movement, any kind of small adjustments until we found just that right stretch. Maybe we like to turn the head a little bit, or tilt the chin, or tilt and turn. So whatever we need here, just noticing what's happening on that left side of the neck. And then we have the option of adding on. Now that might become in the form of letting that right hand go across the body to the left shoulder. or it could be lightly draping the head on the hand on the head. As long as we're not trying to press the head down, that's actually why I like to drape my wrist. I'm a little less tempted to try to pull my head down when it's only my wrist that's on the head. Then whatever we need with that left arm, it might stay where it is. Some like to reach to the ground in front of them, or reach to the ground to the side of them, or reach out to the wall, or reach behind the back. It's whatever we need. We'll try our best to breathe in. We'll try our best to breathe out. One more full breath. Now, if we're ready, we'll let go and we'll let the head come back up to center. It's okay if we're feeling a dull ache in the neck. We might shake the head out a little bit. Maybe it feels good to do gentle nods, whether it's side to side or up and down. We're just going to do a little mindful movement. Now, as always, if we need extra time, give yourself that extra time. It's the beauty of videos. We can always pause it. If we are ready, we'll go in the opposite direction. Now we're letting that left ear find left shoulder. And we might do some small adjustments here until we found just that right stretch. And then whatever we need here. Now we might be taking that left hand across towards the right shoulder. Maybe we're gently draping that wrist or hand on the head. Maybe we're taking that arm, that left arm or that right arm, and we can reach out in front of us, to the side of us, reach out to the wall, reach out behind us. Again, it might be different on this side. And as always, all these variations, none of them are going to be universally better or worse. They just change the angle of stretch. They change what muscles we're affecting in what way. And it's up to us to decide which version is the one that I need. Now, if we're ready, we're welcome to breathe in. And we're welcome to breathe out. So we're welcome to take that full breath in. And we're welcome to take that full breath out. Now, one more breath if that is possible. And if we're ready, we'll let go. We'll come down. We might shrug the shoulders out. We might lightly shake out the head or do head nods. It's okay if one side felt a little more achy than the other. Again, we're asymmetrical creatures, and that does affect us left to right, even in our neck muscles. If we're ready, we'll find our way into a tabletop position. As always, we get there in whatever way we need to. And this is also a great place for that towel or that blanket. We're always welcome to take a blanket, maybe fold it up a couple times, place it underneath the knees, especially if we just need a little extra padding during this class or during any class. Now, if we're ready, we'll find our way into some torso circles. We can let our hips shift to one side, little circle out and around and towards the other side. Maybe we're going past the knees in those circles, maybe not. Now, as always, we can make that movement our own. We might keep the circles behind the knees, especially if the knees aren't agreeing with this. We're welcome to do figure eights instead, little cross, diagonal. Again, make that movement your own. We're just trying to wake up the hips, especially since we've been in that seated position for so long. And then maybe we're ready to go in the opposite direction. We'll try our best to let that breath and movement link up. Can the inhales fill up those lungs for maybe one half of the circle or one rotation? And the exhale for either another rotation or the other half of the circle. Now, if we are ready, we'll start to wind down from this nice and mindfully. We'll end on whatever it is we want to end on. We'll come back to that tabletop position. And if we're ready, we'll find a few of our cat-cow movements. So we're welcome to drop the belly down and maybe take a deep breath in. And round our back, deep breath out. And we can just repeat that movement if it feels good. A little drop of the belly, a little rounding of our back. We'll repeat this movement as it feels good for us. We're trying our best to let that breath and movement link up Now more than ever, it's important to make sure we're doing that mindful movement, that moving meditation. Link up breath with movement. And there's so much that's out of our control these days. There's so much that we can't even control within our own minds. But one thing we can have control over is moving the body and doing our best to move that breath with our body, which will help out with the mind. And we'll start to wind down from this. Slowly but surely, we're going to end on whatever it is that we want to end on. We're going to come back to center. And once we are ready, as always, if we need a moment for the wrists, we can shake them out, we can roll them out, we can stretch them. We're going to find our way into a child's pose, which we can do with or without props. Today might be a day that we take the blanket away from the knees, and maybe we're using it more for our forehead. So we can adjust the knees however we want to. We'll shift back and down. And so maybe we're placing our forehead right on the edge of that towel. We might just give ourselves a moment with that. We'll do our best to breathe in. And we'll do our best to breathe out. Now, if we would like, we are welcome to come into our first down dog. So that might mean moving that prop out of the way. We can come back up. We can readjust the hands, readjust the feet. We'll curl our toes as we shift back and up and just pausing here. So again, this is our first down dog. Maybe we like to pedal out our heels. Maybe we like to just firm up through the core. We're just trying our best to breathe in. Trying our best to breathe out. Full inhale if possible. And full exhale. Now, if we are ready, we'll find our way into a forward fold. So we're welcome to start to walk our feet in or walk the hands to the feet. That's up to us. And we'll pause here, maybe with a nice bend in the knees if that feels good. Now we're welcome to shake out our head like we've said no. We're welcome to nod out the head like we've said yes. And it might just feel good to close the eyes. Can we notice what can soften in our forward fold? So if we're in a forward fold with straight legs and we find everything is just tense, let's put a bend into those knees. Just let everything release. And notice what happens as we give that a full breath in and full breath out. Now, if we are ready, we'll come up to stand. We're going to press through those feet. Those arms could reach up and overhead. And eventually, we'll let our hands come together at our heart. And we'll pause. We'll take that moment to breathe in. We'll take that moment to breathe out. So if we would like, we're going to find our way to a chair pose. So we try our best to let our toes point straight ahead, hips width or feet together, it's up to us. We can shift back and down. We're trying our best to let those knees point in the same direction. Now, if we'd like, we're going to play a little bit with our goalpost arms from our chair pose. So staying where we are, if we can, a little firm up through the belly if possible. On an inhale, we'll bend the elbows. And on the exhale, we'll extend them back out. So on the inhale, we'll bend the elbows. On the exhale, we'll extend them back up. One more time, we're just gonna bend the elbows. Back to that chair. It's okay if our legs are getting tired. Can we notice that tiredness and give it a breath in? Give it a breath out. And then when we are ready, we'll find our way back to a forward fold. We'll readjust and come down. And now any forward fold that works for us here. Now we might find we want to just stay perfectly still, maybe with bent knees, and just kind of allow ourselves to surrender. If we prefer, we can always have our hands on our elbows. We can even have the hands behind the back. And does it feel good to do a little swaying side to side? Does it feel good to shake out the head? Can we try our best to breathe in? Can we try our best to breathe out? One more breath in. One more breath out. So if we're holding on to anything, we're going to let it go. We'll come up to stand. We'll press through our feet. We'll let our arms reach up and overhead. And eventually we'll let our hands come back to the heart. And we'll pause here if we can. Try our best to breathe in. And try our best to breathe out. And then we'll do a little bit of balance play before finding our warrior one. Now we're welcome to get closer towards the top of the mat. Now if we're ready, we'll put a little weight into our left leg. I'm going to press that left foot down as the right knee starts to lift. Now toes might stay on the mat today or the foot might lift up. It's up to us. It might feel good to roll out the ankle. Maybe we don't. As always, if we want to stay close to a wall or stable furniture to hold on to for support, perfectly fine. Now if we're ready, we'll step back. We'll let that heel organically spiral to the ground, staying facing straight ahead as the arms come up. Now we do that check-in. Warrior one, as ubiquitous as it is very unique. So we're going to listen to our back knee. If the back knee is telling us no, we have a lot of options. We can either push the heel back so there's a little less spiral in our heel. We can bring the back foot in a little bit. Another option is to widen our stance, letting that left foot heel toe out more towards the left. Again, this pose has a lot of variability to it. We need to listen to our bodies and especially our joints. Now, if it feels good, we're going to come back to that same flow as before, only now we're doing it from our warrior one. Now we'll bend our elbows, but we'll also straighten our leg. And as we're here, I invite you to see if it's comfortable to let our elbows do a little traveling to the back of the room. Maybe the shoulder blades are lightly squeezing together, maybe not. And as we're ready, we'll come back, warrior one. So we might repeat that. We bend the elbows. Those arms might slide back, a little squeeze through those shoulder blades. And then we'll come back, warrior one. So maybe now we can inhale as we come up and exhale to return. We'll inhale to come up. We'll exhale and return. One more time, we might inhale to come up. We might exhale and return. We're going to pause here if this is possible. And then if we'd like, we'll bring our hands behind us. Now, we are welcome to clasp the palms, hook the thumbs, have the hands on our waist. We could even take our blanket or our towel, roll it up a little bit, and place it behind the back and hold on to it behind the back. So we have a lot of options here. Notice what we want to do. We'll take a breath in. We'll take a breath out. Maybe we can press through the belly, lift through the chest. Maybe those shoulders can relax down just a little bit more. We'll take that breath out if we haven't already. Now, if we are ready, we'll come back up to a more neutral spine and we'll find our way into humble warrior. So we can tilt forward only as far as it feels right. We might find we're pretty high up. We might find we're on level with our thigh. We might find we even go past the thigh. If we're going past the thigh, make sure we're checking in with that left hip. Did we find we all of a sudden pivoted over to that left side? And can we draw that hip back in? That is going to help us, especially if we tend to get IT band issues, keeping those muscles active, keeping the hips where they are. We're going to try our best to breathe in. We're going to try our best to breathe out. One more breath, whatever version we found. And if we're ready, we're welcome to come back up. We might place our props down. If we were using them, we might reach our arms up one more time. We'll come back to the top of our mat so we can relax the arms. We'll step that back foot in. We might need to shake the legs out a little bit. We try all of that on the opposite side. So now we're putting weight into our right foot. Soft knees if we can practice it. Pressing that right foot down as the left knee lifts. Maybe toes are down. Maybe foot is lifted. Maybe we roll out the ankle. Maybe we don't. Again, make that time your own. Now if we're ready, we'll find our way back into warrior one. We step back. Heel pivots down. We stay facing straight ahead. Arms can reach for the ceiling. We'll pause here if this is possible. We're taking that moment to breathe in. And that moment to breathe out. So our full inhale if possible. full exhale. And again, we need to check in if that knee's disagreeing with it. Do we do any of those things I mentioned before? Driving the heel back, shortening the stance, widening it out. What do we need? Now, if we're ready, we'll change up that flow just a little bit. We're going to straighten our front leg. We'll bend the elbows, but this time the palms are facing the ground, and we just draw back from here. Now we can come back, warrior one. So as we're ready, we come up and we just think, we draw the elbows back, maybe a little squeeze of those shoulder blades here, and then we'll come back, warrior one. So we can repeat that, so we could come up, squeeze the shoulder blades, and then come back, warrior one. So we're gonna inhale as we come up. We exhale as we return. So we'll inhale as we come up. Exhale to return one more time. Now when we're ready, we'll relax our arms down. We might even shrug them out a little bit. We're bringing the hands behind us in whatever way we'd like. So again, we could clasp the palms, hook the thumbs, hands on our waist, hands on that towel. If we even would prefer to hold on to a belt or even a sock, we can make that our option as well. Whatever we need. And it might just feel good to shrug the shoulders back and lift through the chest. Maybe we can press that belly towards the spine, lift up our chest just a little bit more, shoulders relax away from the ears just a little bit more. Finding that breath in. Finding that breath out. Now if we're ready, we'll come back up to that more neutral spine and we'll start to tilt forward. How far is up to us? Now again, if we find we go past our thigh, noticing if we tend to shift our hips towards the right, we're going to actively bring them back. Keep those hips stable. And again, take that moment to breathe. This is one of those poses that especially towards the end of a sequence, our legs are tired, we want to come out of this pose and we want to hold our breath until we do, but we're going to try our best to stay with the pose and give it a deep breath in. Give it a deep breath out. One more breath. And if we're ready, we'll come back up, pressing through the feet. We'll relax the arms. We can shrug them out. Maybe one last warrior one. And then we'll come to the top of our mat. We'll relax the arms. We'll step that back leg in. We might need to shake things out a little bit. Now if we're ready, we'll find our way in mountain pose. We can let our arms relax by our side. We might even shrug the shoulders. Maybe we roll those arms back. And we're going to take a moment here. So if we'd like, we might be a little bit curious with our joints. So we might notice that our palms are facing forward right now. And then we could turn essentially through the wrists and the forearms and have our palms face to the back of the room. And then we might turn them again, let our palms face the front, and turn them again to face the back. Now we might pause here if we would like. If it is possible, we're going to play with a shrugging back of the shoulders, and it'll be through that action that we bring our palms to face the front again. So we're going to shrug our shoulders up and back, and as they do so, we're going to flip the palms, and they'll face forward. And then likewise, we're going to shrug our shoulders forward, and as we shrug them forward and down, we bring our palms to face the back of us. We can think of that almost like a swimmer's technique if we're doing the butterfly. Now, if we're ready, we're going to shrug our shoulders up and back and let our palms face forward. And then we can think shrugging up and forward, and now the palms face behind us like we're doing the butterfly. And then we'll shrug back, let our palms face forward. And shrug forward, let the palms face back. Now maybe we can add in our breath. Maybe on our next inhale, we'll shrug the shoulders back and let our palms face forward. And shrug the shoulders forward, let our palms face back. We'll shrug back, breath in. And exhale, shrug forward. Our inhale, shrugging back. And the exhale to shrug forward. So maybe one more time, we're going to shrug back, but can we hold this one? Can we keep those shoulders rolled back? Arms are starting to rotate forward or even slightly away from us. We're going to take that breath in. We're going to take that breath out. But then we'll come back to something more neutral. And it might just feel good to shrug the shoulders out like we normally do. We're gonna pause here in relative stillness if we can. Maybe notice how the feet feel on top of our mat. How does the mat feel underneath the feet? And just take a moment to notice. We don't have to be in any particular pose. We could just stand. And we try our best to breathe in. And breathe out. Now from here, we'll play a little bit with our balance. So if we would like, we'll play with our tree pose. So since that is balance, we might prefer to stay on our mat. If our mat's too squishy, we come off the mat. If we want a little bit of assistance, we can get close to a wall or stable furniture for help. As always, there's so much going on with our tree pose. It is not just a balancing pose. So if we want to focus on something that isn't just balance, we are welcome to modify. Now, if we are ready, we're going to start with soft knees. Again, we're going to be tempted to lock out the knees. Can we put that micro bend in? And we'll put weight into our left leg first. I'm going to press that left foot down as the right heel lifts. Now we might bring heel and ankle to meet, and this can be our pose. This is challenge enough for a lot of us. Now we might prefer to lift the foot. Now maybe it meets the calf muscle area. If we feel like there's higher for us to go, maybe it goes behind the knee, whether we kept the toes pointed or we flex to the foot. Or we might be placing the foot on our inner thigh, and if that's the case, we're pressing that foot into the thigh and the thigh back into the foot. If we tried inner thigh and it immediately slipped down to our knee, maybe we can do more of a ballerina point where it's just the toes against our shin, because we really don't want to dig our heel into our knee joint. And so with all that set up, we just decide what we want to do with the arms. Arms could stay low, that keeps the center of gravity low. Arms could reach up, which is a little more challenging. We might like to reach the arms out to the side or do that shoulder stretch, arms behind the back. We can get creative. Do we like to do our cow face arms, arms behind the back? What do we want to do here? Again, our pose, our time. We're going to try our best to breathe in. We're going to try our best to breathe out. One more breath. Now if we're ready, we can come down. It's okay if that opposite leg is feeling a little tired. Maybe we shake it out a little bit. We might even roll out our ankle. As long as we put all the weight into our opposite foot, we can play with a little rolling over the toes. Now if we're ready, we try it on the other side. So now we're putting weight into our opposite leg. We're going to soften those knees. We're going to press that right foot down. Now the left heel might find the ankle. Left foot might find the calf. It might go behind the knee, whether the toes are pointed or we hook the foot, or we could do that ballerina point. And then another option is to place that foot into the inner thigh, pressing that foot into the thigh, thigh back into the foot. Mindful, higher does not mean better. Higher just makes it different. And we decide which variation is going to best serve. Again, hands do what they need to do. They can even wave. One of my favorite teachers likes to imagine her tree pose on a tightrope or a slack line, and there's just going to naturally be a little bob and weave as you find your center of gravity. Again, we don't have to make these poses static. We don't have to make them perfect. We're just making them what we need them to be. No pass or fail mark with our poses. Now we're going to try our best to breathe in. Try our best to breathe out. One more breath. And then we come out. We'll plate that foot down. Maybe we need to shake out that right leg. And again, it's okay if these legs are tired. One of my favorite things to do in this kind of in the Kripalu style of yoga is to notice that leg. Notice how not even 5 seconds beforehand there was a very intense sensation. Maybe it made us lock up our mind or lock up the breath. 15, 20 seconds later, it's already starting to dissipate. And we just notice that. Now we notice that not to invalidate the challenge or the sensations it gave us. It is just a reminder that everything is temporary, even when it feels like it isn't. And especially in an age of quarantining, I think it's really important to remind ourselves, even when it feels like it's forever, it's temporary. And with that in mind, we're going to make our way back towards our down dog. So if we would like, we might play with our flow. We might inhale our arms up and overhead, and we can exhale into our forward fold. Now we can inhale for a halfway lift, strong, flat back. On the exhale, we could relax our hands down. We can plant the hands, we'll step back, and if it's downward facing dog, we'll just give ourselves a few moments here. As always, this might not be the pose for us. That's okay. It might be child's pose. It might be table. Maybe we're in a kneeling position. Make this your own. Now we're welcome to take a deep breath in. We're welcome to take a deep breath out. Full inhale if possible. Full exhale. One more breath. Now, if we are ready, we'll make our way into that child's pose if we're not there already. We'll let our knees come down, and then maybe we shift back, and eventually back and down. Now again, we can take that blanket or that towel, and we place it somewhat close to the head, and we might rest our forehead against the edge. If we need to readjust, that's perfectly fine. We'll do our best to breathe in. We'll do our best to breathe out. Now, if we are ready, we'll come into a seated position. Now, maybe we come back up, maybe we roll over our shins, maybe we swing them around. And again, we might keep our blanket handy for a moment. Now, if we'd like, we might shake out the legs, we might move the feet. Now, if we are ready, we're going to find our way into two different types of forward folds, and we're going to use our blanket in two different ways. So we can take that blanket or towel, and what we might do is we might fold it up into quarters, as so. And then we'll take one side, maybe that longer side where the fold is, and we're going to roll it up, making a little towel burrito. Now, if we're ready, we're going to take this and place it underneath our knees, and then just relax our legs onto it. Now, we're going to try our best to flex our feet, and we might be someone who needs to readjust the hips. And we're going to come into a forward fold if a forward fold feels good. If a forward fold doesn't feel good, we're going to stay in staff pose. So we'll all start in staff pose. We're going to get tall through the body. We're going to press that belly to the spine. We might rest our hands on the thighs. We are welcome to rest our fingers or our palms against the mat, depending on our proportions. If you're like me and you have a tall torso but relatively shorter arms, it's more like fingertips because the palms tend to hover. I'm going to try our best to breathe in and breathe out. Now, if we are ready, we can find our forward fold. Now, we are welcome to let our torso tilt forward and the hands can just go along. Now, however far we want to reach out our arms is up to us. Good rule of thumb when it comes to any type of movement, we want to think about this movement starting at the core. So that might mean abdomen, back, or hips, and then the limbs follow suit. So in this case, my torso tilted forward, and then my arms follow suit, as opposed to my hands reach for my toes, and I hope my back can follow. So again, once we're here, we're just going to take a few moments. Now it might feel good just to let the head hang heavy, and we'll just give ourselves a chance to breathe in and a chance to breathe out. So our full inhale if possible, and our full exhale. Can we give this 3 more deep breaths? Now, if we are ready, we are welcome to come back up. Now, if we're ready, we'll take that blanket, we'll take it out from underneath our knees. Now we might shake out the legs, we might move our feet side to side. So we're going to come into a second forward fold, only this time we'll take that towel or blanket. Now we will unroll it, but still keep it in its nice quarter folding. And we'll take it behind us, and we're going to sit on the very edge of it. So we'll lift ourselves up, we're going to come to the very edge of that towel or blanket. Now we're welcome to stay here, or we're welcome to do a light sliding forward. So it's almost like we're half on the ground, half on that towel. And just noticing that might have done a little tilting forward of our pelvis. That might change our forward fold for us. Now we are welcome to, again, stay in our staff pose. Maybe this is the pose we want to focus on. If we would like to come into our forward fold, we're going to take that deep breath in. On the exhale, torso tilts forward and the arms just come out for as far as we need them to go. And again, we can keep our hands by our thighs. There's nothing wrong with that. Likewise, there's nothing wrong with having our hands on the floor. If we're reaching for the toes, if we end up touching the toes or holding on to our shins, we want to just let that natural connection be our source of tractioning. We don't want to use our arms to crank ourselves into the pose. We really just want to use that simple connection for very, very gentle tractioning. Now we'll try our best to breathe in. We'll try our best to breathe out. That full inhale if possible. That full exhale. Maybe one more full breath here. Now if we are ready, we can come back up. We'll remove our hips from that towel. We can move our blanket or towel off to the side. Now we might shake out the legs. We might move our feet a little bit side to side. So we're coming into a twist with the option of playing with our cow face arms, as I mentioned briefly during tree pose. So we're going to take our left knee or our right knee. We can start on our right side or either side, and eventually we'll cross it over that straight leg. Now we're going to get tall through the body. And we'll keep that length as we twist towards our bent knee. So if we can, I invite you to let your rib cage do most of that movement, almost no help from the hands. And then eventually maybe we hug that knee in, or the elbow naturally finds its way to the outside. Twists have the same philosophy about movement as those folds. We want to think my torso did all that movement and my hands followed suit. Not I try to get my arms into position and I'll crank my back to catch up with me. Again, just like with our forward fold, that's a great way to accidentally injure our back. We want to avoid that if possible. So we're going to try our best to breathe in. We're going to try our best to breathe out. One more breath, whatever version we found. Now if we can, we'll come back to center and we'll just twist in the opposite direction. Now likewise, we might just prefer to stay upright. And we might prefer to plant one hand down onto our mat, maybe two hands, maybe we walk the hands out or reach out like we're trying to shake someone's hand or point out the ground. And whatever we need here, we're going to try our best to breathe in. We try our best to breathe out. One more breath. Now if we can, we're welcome to come up and come back to center. We're welcome to uncross our legs, maybe a little shake out, maybe move our feet. I'm going to try it in the opposite direction. So now we can take our opposite knee in, we'll cross it over our straight leg. Now we're going to get tall through the body. We want to pause for that length. On an exhale, we'll twist towards that left side again. And we want to think ribs did most of the work. And then my hands are just there for a little bit of support, a little bit of tractioning. So again, as I always like pointing out, if we don't know the difference or we find that we get tempted to veer away from tractioning and into cranking the twist, we want to ease back. Better to build up that essential mental fortitude than to try to force our body into something or be tempted to force our body into something. So again, light tractioning just means maybe a light hugging of that knee. We just feel maybe a little diagonal stretch now. It's not cranking the twist though. We want to remember that. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. One more breath. Now as we're ready, we're welcome to come back to center and we'll go in the opposite direction. So as always, we might stay upright for that pose. We might plant the hands. We might reach out. It's whatever we need here. As always, if there's a variation I didn't mention in this particular class, but we know feels good for us, come into it. Give yourself that permission. Now we're going to try our best to breathe in and breathe out. And then as we are ready, We may come up, we may unwind. Now we're going to shake out the legs, we'll move them. Now if we would like, we're going to come into any seated position we want, because right now we're going to focus on our shoulders. So it might be cross-legged, maybe it's more of a kneeling position or even sitting in a chair. Make this your own. We're going to take our blanket, if we want to use the blanket, and we're going to roll it up one more time. So we're just going to make that nice little blanket burrito. And we're going to find our way into our cow face arms. So if we know that we can do cow face without a prop, you are welcome to do it that way. This is just going to be an introduction into using props for our cow face pose. So what we'll do is we'll start on our left side. We're going to let our left arm reach up towards the ceiling, and then we're going to bend the elbow. Now this could even just be our pose. This is our practice. If we want, we might take that blanket, we might pass it to the hand behind it with the burrito facing downwards. Now if we can, we'll take our opposite arm, we reach it behind the back, and if it finds that burrito, wonderful. If it doesn't, we don't want to force that. So again, just notice where it naturally goes. If it finds that burrito, we'll hold on to it. Now we are welcome to also come out of the pose entirely, unfold the blanket once, and then circle it up, re-roll it up, and that will give us a slightly longer strap. So again, make this time your own. And again, we can do this without a towel. We could do this with a sock. We can do this with a belt. As long as we are not trying to force anything. Now, especially when it comes to using props for this pose, it can be tempted to essentially rope climb. That bottom arm is slowly climbing up the burrito, up to the top arm. We want to avoid that if we can. That right arm, with it being behind the back, is in an extremely vulnerable position. It's already at its end range of motion right now. We don't want to force it into anything. This is how we get dislocated shoulders. This is how we get torn rotator cuffs. We really want to be gentle here. And perhaps with all this explanation, we didn't even realize that we've been in this pose for a good number of breaths. Or maybe we have. We're going to give this one more full breath in. One more full breath out. And then we'll let go of the bottom of the burrito. We'll come up. We'll let that blanket burrito come down. We'll kind of shrug the shoulders out. And we're trying it in the opposite direction. So without anything in the hands, we'll just take that right arm up. We'll bend, let it go behind the back. This could be our pose. Or we could take that burrito. We're going to take it behind us. We're going to hold on to the top portion of that burrito. Now that left arm goes behind, and it just finds maybe the bottom of that burrito. And again, make that time your own. Just notice if you tend to rope climb up that particular prop that we have. And this is not about what achievements we want to make right now. We're trying to find a stretch that feels good in the shoulders. And we're going to give this a good number of breaths. And now will be a great time to notice and kind of compare. What does this pose feel like when I'm talking through it versus when I'm only talking through a small percentage of it? Now maybe this can get one more full breath in and full breath out. And then when we're ready, we'll let go. We'll plant that burrito down. Let's shrug out of the shoulders. Any movement we need here, maybe some light arm swings. It's okay if there's a dull ache in the belly of the muscles. If we were getting any pinching sensation in our shoulders, that was our cue maybe to modify or at least make note of for next time. Now if we're ready, we'll come down onto our back. Again, we'll make sure our blanket is available. Now if we are ready, we'll just slowly come down. Now if it feels good, we might hug our knees into the chest and we might rock a little bit side to side or even draw circles with our knees. Now, if it feels good, we're going to come into a twist towards the right. Any twist whatsoever, and maybe it just feels good to let the knees knock over towards the right. We might even use our pillow or our blanket or our towel. We can even place it in between the knees, especially if we sometimes get a little outer hip pain on that left hip as we come into our twist. So we're going to make that time your own. We're going to take that deep breath in. Deep breath out. Now we'll give this one more breath. And then if we are ready, we're going to come back to center, and that might mean moving our towel out of the way. And we'll come in the opposite direction. We're going to come over towards that left side. So in that left twist, it's whatever we need. We adjust and readjust accordingly. We might be taking that blanket or towel, placing it in between the knees. Again, make that time your own. We're going to try our best to breathe in. And we'll try our best to breathe out. One more breath. Now when we are ready, we're going to come back to center. We can remove that towel, and we might need a little movement. Now what we do next is going to be up to us. We might play with a shoulder opener with that towel, which might turn into our supine bound angle with the shoulder opener, and or a slightly more supported recline bound angle. And that will make sense in a moment. So the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to come all the way up. We're going to come up to seated for a moment, and that's just so we can take that blanket. Now, maybe we find that we would prefer to keep it at those quarter folds and just place it where the back is. Now, this is a great option. We might prefer to take that blanket or towel and roll it up. Now, if we feel like that's going to be a little too much on our back, we're welcome to unfold it once and then roll it up and place it down roughly where our spine is going to be. So this might take a little trial and error. We're going to try our best to keep it in place as we start to lay our spine down on it. Now we'll check in. If we come into this and we find, wow, this is not working for me, we come out. If we find it's too low on the back, we can lightly scooch the body forward. Maybe we scooch the towel up. So the idea here is that it's allowing a little bit of support, a little bit of elevation between the shoulder blades so the shoulders can relax on either side. So again, this might be way too much stretch for some of us. That's okay. That's not an indictment on you or on the practice or on the prop. That just means we want to come out, unfold it once, roll it back up, place it underneath the spine, or have it as that quarter fold and place that underneath the back instead. So we're going to keep our knees where they are. Maybe we have them bent. Maybe we even put them into our pyramid legs where the knees knock into each other and the feet walk away from each other. And maybe the arms just drape out to the side. So again, notice if this works for us. If it doesn't, that's okay. If we need to place something underneath the head, like a pillow or another towel, we do that. Again, that's the beautiful thing about our videos is we can pause it, we can get extra props, we can come back. It's not a disruption of practice, it's part of it. And we're going to try our best to breathe in and try our best to breathe out. Can we give this 3 more breaths? Now, we have a lot of options. We might stay here, or we might come into our supine bound angle with the shoulder opener, which means we keep the back where it is. We walk our feet back in, and the soles of the feet meet, and the knees go out to the side. And, or, we can come out of the pose and do our supported recline bound angle. So if we want to do that, we're going to lightly come up for a moment. We'll take that towel. We'll unroll it. We'll unfold it once. And now we're going to burrito roll it along that length side. Now we're going to take that towel. We're going to bring our feet together into that bound angle position. We're going to take it over our feet and then tuck it underneath our ankles, as so. Now if we need to unfold it one more time to give ourselves a little bit longer of essentially a rope, we can. Again, make this time your own, and we might even find we come into this and we just want to stay upright. Or we can mindfully come back down, which might take a little bit of finagling, and that's okay. Again, we're going to make this time our own, especially since we've hit that last minute of our practice before we come into whatever Shavasana we need. If we're feeling supported through that supported reclined bound ankle, we're welcome to stay here. If we're feeling good with that shoulder opener underneath our shoulders, we can stay with that. If we're doing a combo of the two, we can stay with that. If we want to come out of it and come into Shavasana, we may. Now, if we are somebody who tends to straighten the legs along the length of our mat and our low back disagrees, we'll take that blanket. And if it was unfolded once, we're going to fold it back, and then we're going to roll it up, place it underneath the knees, and then notice if that helps. Now, if it doesn't, we're welcome to bend the knees completely. Now, this is going to be our time and our practice. Unwind as you are ready to unwind. I'm going to play the singing bowls for a few minutes. I'll allow them to fade into silence. Eventually, I will ring my chimes and guide us back. And what we do between now and then is entirely within our power. We can start with a full breath in. And that full breath out. And we'll make any mindful movements that serve us best right now. Do we want to stretch through our fingers and toes? Do we want to move through our ankles and feet? Do we want to stretch out in any particular way? And we'll add on as it feels right. So always mindful that this is very much our time. And we do not have to come into our easy seat simply because I am cueing it. If we are ready, we are welcome to meet back in our easy seat. We can let our hands come together at our heart. And when we are ready, we'll seal in our practice with a moment of gratitude. And perhaps today we ask ourselves, if gratitude were a physical sensation, what would gratitude feel like? And then whatever meaning of Namaste resonates for you today, and perhaps today it is the good within me recognizes the good within you. I thank you for your time, and I thank you for your practice. Namaste.